like YouTube is playing a funny little game with me. Sorry about that. A funny little game with me as I go live every day this month. It seems to be a new challenge, but I'm up for challenges. Not too much, though. Not too much. Oh, I forgot my water. Oh, well, we're going to try to get through this. Hello, hello. I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. Here at Leap Taken, I talk all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And we're going to do a witchy review of this book here. Matter of fact, let me use my other one. I think it's a little less glare. It's called Phantasma. I had never read this book before. It is my first time reading dark romance. I've never read that before. This was a brand new experience for me. One that I thoroughly enjoyed. This was new. This was brand new. Like when I've read romance before, obviously, but I've never read dark fantasy romance, which is a totally different genre if you didn't know. That's different. So this is the book. The author is Kaylee Smith. Okay. So I think this one is like a really good, I love this book, by the way. I enjoyed reading it thoroughly. It was really interesting. So there's a couple different things. It's a mystical, magical world. It's fiction. It's fiction. So don't you love a good, so please, the messages. I swear, I swear, I swear. And it's, let me turn this off. Anyway, what is it with this month? What is it? Where every time I go on live there, I feel like there's just like a thing. Back to the book, because I feel like things are just trying to make me out of sorts. I love a good book that either has a map in the beginning. One, it means I'm going to be thoroughly confused for most of the book until about a third of the way that I'll finally understand. I don't read a lot of fantasy for that very reason. I am thoroughly confused most of the way through the book. Like I don't get it. But anyway, this does have, let me get to it. So it has a hierarchy at the beginning, and I love that. So it says the hierarchy of paranormal beings. So you need to know this. And I'm not going to give a lot of spoilers because I would love other people to read this book. And if you have, let me know in the comments and tell me your thoughts. So, King of the Devils, Prince of the Devils, we're just devils. Hello, hi. And then there's demons, wraiths. And then, by the way, all demons, it says offspring of a devil and another paranormal being. Hello. Wraiths are offspring of a demon and another paranormal being. And then there's other immortal paranormal beings. So you have vampires, shapeshifters, familiars, ghosts. You know, what we're familiar with. Does this chick's shirt ever fall down or what? No, this witch's shirt doesn't. I mean, it's my body. Hey, hello. I mean, you can appreciate. Mortal paranormal beings. Mortal. Necromancers, seers, witches, scepters. Classifications of ghosts. Phantoms, poltergeists, apparitions, ghouls. And yes, these things actually come up in the book. And yeah, this was so good. So it's steamy. It's steamy. So I was trying to figure out, because I don't read a lot of these types of books, so I don't know like spicy metrics, but I did see in a review somebody gave it 3 spice out of 5, 3 out of 5. So based on what I think I know, I'm gonna go with a 3 out of 5. It got pretty steamy, pretty cool, very quickly, and okay, hey. So the main character is going to be Ophelia. So we have Ophelia Grimm. So the Grimm family. And there we go. She's a man. Me? Oh, okay. Let me let me resolve this. Uh y'all just won't let me have a little bit of peace so I can get through this book review. I mean, I appreciate the engagement though. Bear with me, y'all, while I just resolve this. Anyway, so it opens up with the main character being Ophelia Grimm, who is a necromancer. Um, she's dealing with a big family loss at the very beginning of the book. Am I getting to the point where I'll need a moderator? I just want to go over my stuff. Leave me alone. uh, hopefully that resolves that one. Okay. So anyway, the book opens up to Ophelia Grimm and her sister Genevieve having a very difficult time with a huge family loss. So they're dealing with that, right? So then we kind of work our way through, and there's a series of events that lead Ophelia to a place called Phantasma. So it's a house that sort of just pops up. It's like a traveling circus. I love this concept. So it's like a traveling circus, and they go to different towns, and basically you make a deal with the devil. And I don't think it's my speed, but I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. I've never read a book like this before, so this was very new for me. But anyway, so they go through. Now I'm making sure I'm not showing too much cleavage because it's the conversation in the chat. But I think I got rid of those crazy people. Anyway, but Phantasma is like a circus, a traveling circus, except it's a haunted house essentially. So, but very real devils, ghouls, phantoms, all things wicked, and you can lose your life. It's a game. Uh, the very desperate go there. So if we were to have something like that in real time, I would have met in real life. I could see people really going there. I could see people wanting help. Like, I mean, come on, you go there because your prize at the end, and it's only one person that gets to win. So people forfeit. They abandon the game. They leave. They die. They go mad. Or they're never found again. It's a haunted home that they're in. But you're there for a definitive amount of time, and the games go on, and there's these different levels, like the 9 levels. Get it? Um, so they have to go through all these levels to eventually get to the prize, which is to be able to be granted a promise or a deal from the devil himself, and he'll give you something, whatever it is. You get something from the devil. So if you are in debt and you're about to lose your house, or if you are whatever your issue is, most people, it's like they're trying to bring somebody back from the dead. Potentially they want um you know, debt for most of us. So in today's world, I would think is a lot of things. I wouldn't, if I was sick, I wouldn't want to be sick anymore. I thought about this. I was like, this is like something that really would happen. Now in this world, necromancers are a real thing. So we don't really fuss about what's regular human thinking and all that sort of stuff, and like how do magical beings navigate in the world, and what does everybody say when this magical mansion just appears as if out of nowhere, this haunted home. We don't focus on that in the book. So in the book, it is based in New Orleans, so that should tell you everything. It's based in New Orleans, so I feel like these types of things would happen there if they were going to happen. So it's in New Orleans. The place opens up only to, I can't remember if they said in the beginning if everybody gets to go, but like who wants to go? Because obviously it might be an issue, but again, it's only the desperate. So when she's within the walls, because she's there for a very particular reason, not just because she wants to be there, um, she was always warned to stay away from devils specifically, and that would be interesting down the road. Now, the Ophelia Grimm character, she's a young woman. She's in her 20s. She doesn't um, have a lot of experience with the outside world because she's kind of been sheltered because of her training of being a necromancer. Her sister, on the other hand, had a different lifestyle. She was able to sort of navigate the world a little bit and make friends and stuff like that. So it's different for her, and that will play out as well. That's actually a big deal in the book, a big part of things. So her character, I didn't have a hard time getting in tune with her. I just, I'm kind of, I'm over like, the best thing that could have happened is she always knew she was a necromancer. She always knew she wasn't afraid of magic, so it wasn't like, oh, she just came into her power. No, no. Well, she always knew she was capable of what her mother could do. She would learn how she could do a lot more, but once she was fighting for her life in this haunted house. But she went there with a very specific mission, completely different from everyone else, and that's where the romance begins. So a woman who doesn't have a lot of experience dealing with the outside world and different people. Well, thank you. And she was able to meet someone there who was not wholly human, or not human at all, actually. And when she did, it was so cool how that kind of, I think the book did a really good job of building the connection to the with the characters. I believed it. I believed they were really getting to know each other, and the teasing, the flirtatiousness. I wouldn't say enemies to lover because they weren't per se enemies, but um, she was warned to stay away from these types of people. Like basically, he was like a very crafty ghost, but he could he could become fully, materialized and not just see-through ghost. Um, but and basically be in his physical form, which you're gonna want that because there's some sex scenes, so you're gonna kind of want that, right? Um, it was an interesting the spiciness of the book, just to go in a little bit of detail. So would you recommend it then? If you like romance novels and if you like dark romance, yes, it was an easy read. For someone like me who's never read this genre before, it was very easy to get into it. I was into the worlds. I never felt bored at any point or like, oh, it's just going on and on. I wasn't really confused with anything because fantasy, again, is not really my thing. Because it does confuse me because I feel like I gotta learn too much. I gotta learn about the world, who these people. I don't have time for all that. I understand the concept of a necromancer, devils, ghouls, and so forth. So I was cool with that, and demons. So I was cool with that. So I was able to follow through. But yeah, I would recommend it if you were looking to read that type of genre. I would definitely recommend this book. I thought it was pretty good. And the steamy portion, very detailed, very detailed. They didn't use the language that kind of annoys you a little bit. I mean, it was a couple literary words they used for, those type of steamy scenes. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But it wasn't a lot of that. And most of it just felt like it was really hot. Like you could sit, it was spicy. Um, and then the magic elements in it, I thought they did pretty good about explaining sort of the magical scenes that was taking place. Um, the creativity. Now, the creativity behind what was happening in the games at each of the different each of the different levels, it just got more gruesome. So there's a lot of explicit explanation about those gruesome scenes. People die in the book, so there's a horror element. It's dark. People die. So if you're not okay with that, then don't read it. But it is not wholesome, and there is a heck of a plot twist that I won't give away because I won't give spoilers. But what I will tell you about the plot twist is you kind of sense it by the time you get there. If you're paying attention, you sense what you kind of get an idea like, wait a minute. And you got like, and that some people, I looked at the reviews after the fact, and some people said they caught it ahead of time, they saw it coming. I didn't, but it was my first time reading a dark fantasy romance novel. Maybe I'm just not versed enough in understanding. But yeah, I think it's something that a lot. I think a lot. I mean, a lot of people reading this book, from my understanding, is actually pretty popular. That's how I found out about it. Because I mean, I wanted to try something different, and this book came up. So yeah, um, yeah, I would recommend it overall. Yeah, I think it's a good one. Um, it's tough when I realize I'm talking about fiction, a novel, because I can't really tell you, but so much. But favorite scenes, I will tell you about that. Favorite scenes outside of the steamy ones. um, I thought about this on how I could word it because I don't want to give spoilers. I think the plot twists in that moment, within one of the steamy scenes when they finally uh, say how they really feel about each other, um, and you're kind of rooting for this couple at that point. You want them to be together. You're gonna, I mean, the author did a really good job of wanting, it's like, oh, I want them together. I want to see how this happens for them. They're both, they both deserve this. They both have sacrificed so much, they deserve it. So that was my favorite part, or just kind of getting into that big moment where they're finally being very honest and truthful about how they feel. Definitely the end, when it was kind of like the plot twist, that was my favorite part as well. I think most of my favorite parts had to do with people expressing how they felt. um, I like the orgy scene, and I'm just going to tell you, you'll have to figure out where that is with some vampires, and you'll figure that out. But it's bloody because it's vampires. So I liked a little bit of that horror aspect of it. So that was interesting to read and fun. Those were like my three top favorite things in the book. My least favorite things were the sister. I did not like her sister. Her sister, I mean, I get it. She was the younger sister, and I mentioned how she kind of had a life outside of Grim Manor, which is where they lived. Um, and Ophelia, the sister, never really did because she was sheltered most of the time, um, learning her craft, learning to take over after her mother, as the women uh, before her had done. There is a major magical component in the book, and it has to do with something being enchanted. I'll just tell you that. And I love the idea of enchanted things, so that was cool. Yeah, I did not like the sister very much. I just thought she was, I mean, they're all young women, so she was young, so I'm not gonna like get upset about that. But she was like, I thought she was very selfish. Um, but so was the mom. I didn't like her either. I didn't like how her mother treated Ophelia. I thought, as a mother, I just wouldn't put that much pressure. As a practicing witch, I wouldn't put, even as a in the being in the business of witchcraft, I don't put pressure on my daughter to take over. There's other one thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, something's getting to me. Ugh. And I had an air purifier on too. Sorry. Um, there is the author of the book explains, once you're done reading, at the back she talks about it in her notes. She has OCD. Okay. um so she hears this is something in a book, and there's a trigger warning if this if this is something that's upsetting to someone. there's a voice that tells her, knock on a table 3 times. And then there's a voice, the voice also says, if you don't knock on a table 3 times, someone's going to die. You know? So we have this woman, young woman, being haunted by this voice while being in a haunted house with ghouls and everything else. And it's crazy how that works out. And the first, excuse me, the first thing you're asked when you come into the manor, Phantasma, is you have to give up your greatest fears. So just an idea without giving too much away. She has this shadow, she calls the shadow voice in her head. It was there through the whole book. It was tough. That was tough because I realized after I read that the author actually suffers from this, and this voice, even though you never will act on it. Some people say, oh, those are intrusive thoughts. For some people, like, oh, throw this person, push that person down the steps, or, stuff, not, I'm not saying I do, but you know what I'm talking about. You have those intrusive thoughts that says, or hurt yourself. And she's saying, Ophelia, it has disrupted her life. It has made it really hard for her. And that voice had been relentless her entire life. Her sister knew about the shadow voice. Her mother, she only had 2 people in her life really they knew about the voice, and it was just something that was tolerated, but they would kind of, they didn't do anything to really. I mean, what could they do to help it? It's in her head. And I really felt bad reading that part because I was like, this. Could you imagine you're competing in a contest amongst demons, devils, ghouls, ghosts, and all things out to get you? And you have a mission of something really important that you're trying to accomplish, which is why you're even there. And you have a voice in your head that is disrupting you every step of the way, including in moments when you're trying to fight for your life and you're running, and the voice is saying, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. That was one of the things it would say, run. You better run and get there in the next 30 seconds. Get to your destination next 30 seconds, or you're not gonna make it. You're gonna be dead. And it's like you're already in a stressful situation because a ghoul is out to get you. You're running for your life, and now you have your inside thoughts. Man, that was really tough. And I felt bad because I gratefully I don't have that. Yeah. One of the things the voice would say is, if you aren't home before dark, you and Genevieve will die. Stuff like that. And she's just lived with this voice. There is a positive thing that comes from that in her romance, and I'll just leave that there. But yeah, I really, really, really did enjoy reading it. I finished it rather quickly. I was able to get right through. Yeah, I realized this is why I don't do novels too much for review, because you can't really talk about it. The only way I could really talk about it if it was a book that everyone read, like if I reread Practical Magic or something like that, and I can go into exhaustive details about it and really do some breakdown, which maybe I'll read an book that's been out for a very long time, a witchy book, and come back to it. Because I don't want to spoil this for people. And this book recently came out. So, no, I'm not going to spoil it. But I did want to talk about something else. Do you guys remember the movie, The Amityville Horror? The original from, I think it was 1970 something, 73, 79, no, 1979. Because I was alive. 1979. The Amityville Horror. It was based on the story of a father who had killed his whole family. And literally, and the devil made him do it. It was like the gates of hell, they found out, was it was the whole thing. Anyway, so I watched this movie when I was a little kid. I haven't seen it. Oh my God. Well, this I will have to spoil because this movie has been out since the 70s. So hopefully you can check it out. But anyway, the Amityville Horror, I was talking to my daughter about this the other night. And we were talking about something. I was like, like the house on Amityville Horror with the windows. She was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was like, of course, you're a baby. So I pull it up and I show her the house that I'm talking about. So the house has these windows cut out. They're like a triangle almost shape. So on the side of that, I think it's, what is that, like a Cape Cod style house? I think it is. I'm not sure. Somewhere up north. And oh my God, I love this house as a kid. So I want you to think about this. I'm like 6, I think, when I five or 5. Yeah, I'm about 6 years old. I'm not 5. I'm like 6 years old. And I watched this movie. So it had been out for a handful of years at this point. So, wait, how old am I? Yeah, so I watched it recently after it came out. I'm like, wait, how old am I? Yeah, okay. I was born in 1974. I don't mind. I'm grateful to be here. Anyway, yeah, so the movie came out in 1979. I think I watched it when I was about 6. So that makes, and those numbers adding up, or close to, or something like that. But anyway, it was a horror movie, and my mom was young when she had me, so that's why, like, fast forward some years later, if she had me, she would never let me watch stuff like that. But I was dealing with a constant babysitter, essentially. It was just my mom, but she was young. So I watched scary movies as a little kid. I was scared, but not really. The things that stayed with me about this movie were the house. I wanted to live in that house. And I knew in the movie as a kid, like, it's haunted and, the dad's going around and killing people. In my brain, I was like, well, just, it was me and my mom anyway. She won't let anything possess her, so we'll be fine. I had a quest from that movie to live there. Something triggered because I saw the movie. Um, an advertisement, somebody was talking about it or something. I saw something about it and I started talking about this. But I'm bringing this up because my daughter looked at me and said, so that's where it started. I said, that's where what started? And she was like, you don't care. Like, it could be, it doesn't matter the situation. You were so into like exterior and interior design. You don't care really what like how you got the information or what the theme is. Um, I'm shocked I don't go more to estate sales because I really like to go in people's houses. I'm somebody who goes to a lot of open houses. I like to look inside. I want to see. It's not about seeing how you live. I want to see the house. I want to see what's in this house and how things are laid out, the floor plan and stuff like that. I'm someone who I lived in a neighborhood and I remember they were building new homes and I wanted to see the other homes. So I did. So like they were doing new construction. This is over the years. I've had I lived in new construction more than once before. So being able to look inside and see what was going on, that was always a fascinating thing to me. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, I think that is where it began. But that's where I think I started noticing people could live differently. Where I grew up, it didn't look like that in Jersey. So in my area, there were areas that were similar to that, but it didn't look like that where I was at. And I wanted that house. I wanted a house with those beautiful windows that people think are spooky, but I loved it. Um, with all the rooms and the details, and I wanted that. And it just opened a world up to me. And it got me to thinking about, I've always been someone who's been able to sort of manifest. I've always, even as a little kid, because even though I didn't live in that particular style house, because that's a very unique, specific house to like the Northeast, I lived in my version of that house. And more than once, actually, more than once. And in those moments, I always knew that little girl. I was making the little girl in me happy who wanted to have, that really nice house. And then I would get even older and I would realize planned communities, the suburbs, and then I wanted to live there. Uh, what is happening? Can you guys hear me okay? My phone just did something weird. Okay, good. Okay. The volume just displayed on its own, and I'm like, oh, I did it with the watch, Apple Watch. I wanted to bring this up. I'm losing my train of thought. You can hear me. Thank you. I have always been someone who could manifest. I realized that, and that was when just that little conversation about that. And I am going to watch Amityville Horror this month because now it's on my mind. But I've always been someone who really I love interior design. I like exterior design. I'm one of those people who are really into that sort of stuff. But more importantly, I wanted to live in that. And I realized I didn't want to just live in one type of, I wanted to experiment. I wanted to know, what's it like in like a coastal home? What's it like in a very, quintessential colonial style home in the Northeast? And, what's it like to live in a cottage and to live in something, the Floridian style or the Arizona, desert type style. And I have had an opportunity to do that. I've manifested that. I have people who know me in my life who have made it seem like it was a bit of a failure because of all the moves that I did. We would average a move, like I would say every 2.5 to 3 years. I homeschooled my kids. No, we were not military. So people, most of the people I know didn't move like that. And they definitely didn't move from different states. Um, I've lived in Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. Well, let me back up. Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Arizona. I'm like, is there another state I lived in and I forgot? Yeah, in Arizona. No, those are the places I've lived. Multiple moves back to Florida, multiple moves back to Georgia. Only one, I lived in Tennessee for about 3 years, and I lived in North Carolina for just about 3.5 years, almost 4 years. That was the longest place we stayed. And when you're like that and you're moving like that, people, I mean, I'm not saying they were doing it to be mean, but they, they make you feel bad for moving. We had reasons, it was job things. That's really the main reason. And my quest to want to live near the ocean. So every time we would move away, I'd want us to move back. So I'd find a way to move us back. So there was a lot of moving back and forth to Florida. And within Florida, I've lived on the Gulf. So I lived in Naples. I lived in Boca Raton. I lived in Boynton Beach. And I lived in Jacksonville. So I've really lived a lot in Florida. I'm grateful. I don't want to live there now with all the hurricanes. It reminds me why I don't want to live there. But anyway, yeah, I got a chance to, like, at some point, I was already, like, in my childlike mind, I was thinking about wanting to live in all these different style homes and to have these types of experiences. And I used to always think, what would that be like to live in that? Oh, to sleep there and wake up and see that, or to hang out on this and do, I would think about that sort of stuff. And I did it. And it really, I mean, I've known this because I've talked about it before, how the place that I'm sitting in right now, my witch's cottage, that I manifested this home. There's no way. Like, trust me, it's a cottage that I live in. It looks like a little or I guess you could say a bungalow, but it looks like a cottage home. And here in Arizona, it stands out, the neighborhood that I'm in. And I love that for me. And when it was a fluke, not a fluke, but it was just like a series of randomness the day we came to look at these homes. They were still building the rest of them. And at the time, it was just me and my daughter came to look. My son had just left for the military. My then husband was working. So she had just graduated from college. And we're all trying to figure out what the next move is. I just sent my son a month before to the military, to the Air Force. So we come here, we look, we meet with an agent, and they're talking to us. And they have one of the homes they're using like as a staging area or whatever. So we look at that, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. And then she takes us, we walk in this hot, it's in August, and down the road. She's like, oh, we could walk there. I was like, you sure you don't want to drive? It's really hot. She's like, no, we could walk. And it was right there. We walked. And we came over soon as we started coming up on to the home. And because we're on foot, and I'm making out, walk by some houses. And I'm like, oh, that's it. When she opened that door, I got so emotional. And my daughter saw me and took over and just started talking to her. And that woman was so very gracious and nice to us. And she made the process very simple. But anyway, I had scripted about this. When I got emotional because I scripted about the details of this home that only was in my head and I put on that paper, and I was looking at them. So I've always been able to manifest. I've always, and I think all of us can, but I've always been, especially around like homes, because I have such strong emotions behind it, which goes into something I'm always talking about, which is you should really try to tap into your emotions when you're working your craft. Some people think, I don't know, I feel like you have to be emotional. Some of my best magic has happened out of being emotional, regardless of the emotion. Some of my best magic has happened for that reason. So I say be emotional. Be upset, get into it. Sorry, I'm getting a message. Be upset if you need to be upset, if you want to be happy, if you want to be sad, or whatever it is. Dig into those emotions when you're casting that spell. But for me, I hadn't cast the spell yet. This is all just projecting out into the universe. I didn't know to cast the spell yet, but once I did, I'm sitting in it. But it got me thinking, because one of my intentions have been to dream even bigger. Because someone born in 1974, I'm like, wow, I did it. Like I've been in a very reflective mood this year. And I'm like, well, if I was able to do all these different things, well, what else can I do? Especially with the knowledge of where I'm sitting now. So that's what I'm doing. So I have some really cool things planned for myself. And I'm dreaming bigger. I'm dreaming much bigger. I'm working on two big projects. They're big for me because they require a lot of my time. And I'm very excited about those things. I am, and it utilize my gifts, my natural talents, my gifts. So it's a labor of love. And I'm starting to think about, not now because I'm very comfortable here, but what would it, that question I used to ask as a kid, what would it be like? And then I start thinking about the next thing, like a different location. Not necessarily leaving the state of Arizona, but like, I don't live in a city. What would a city life look like? What would it look like to live in a high rise with a concierge and, those really cool, very expensive apartments or condos in the city where there's like a doorman, like I said, or a concierge, and you have all these amenities that are not common, like rooftop park, things like that. What would that be like? And we have them here. What would that be like to live like that? I have lived a suburban, rural-esque life for quite some time. I don't have small children. I don't have to worry about schools. I don't have to do any of that sort of stuff. So it's just adults over here. So what would that be like? I'm starting to think that. So I'll share that with you. And now that I've said it out loud, it's something that's just been in my head. Let's see what comes of it. I don't know when. I don't even have a timeline because I'm very comfortable here, but I don't know. I'm starting to think about that. What would that be like? Something totally different. This cottage witch in the city. How would that look? Do I want to live in the city? I don't know. I say this, but then the moment I go into Phoenix, I want to go back because I don't love the city. I don't like, I don't like it. But if I live there, I don't have to worry about parking because I'm home. You park where you live. You just go out, you Uber every place, I guess, right? Isn't that how people in the city do it? You'd be a city witch. I know, turn into a city witch. And just, what would that be like? Um, yeah, but I'm open to that. So I'm dreaming bigger. I'm thinking bigger. I want to manifest even bigger for myself. Um, yeah, but not challenges. We don't want bigger challenges. I've done enough. I just want the good. I want the good and with ease. I don't need a challenge. Universe, we're not asking about a challenge. I just want to be very clear. No one asked for bigger challenges. We're just looking for opportunities. We just want more opportunities. Yeah, bigger opportunities. I'm going to end it here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up a little earlier today. But I will be back. I have some things planned for later today, so I want to get myself ready to go for that. But anyway, I will be back on Monday with a grimoire video. I'm really, really excited about this one. The page pops out. It opens up. So I'm gonna have fun with that. And then Wednesday, of course, another live. So, catch me there. Come join me there too. Bye, Gemstones. And then back again on Friday. I got one of the books that was on the list. I got it. Lorraine Anderson's book. So I'm already starting to read that. So we're going to talk about that, and I'll give a thorough breakdown of her latest book. I did a quick skim through initially, and I like where it's going, but I'm going to give it a thorough read, and I'll let you guys know about that one. So we're going to talk about that one next Friday. Glam Astrology, I'm waiting. There was a bit of a hiccup with that book, by the way. That apparently there weren't a lot of copies. I don't know what the deal was. So I didn't pre-order because I've never pre-ordered. I don't really like pre-order. I don't know. I get nervous about pre-ordering. But anyway, I'm supposed to get the book this month, so I hope I have it ready to go by the end of the month. If not, I do have a backup book. We'll find out how that works then. All right, now I'm done. All right, bye. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and all that other stuff. Bye.